And now it's my honor to introduce Karen Harbert, who's here from the U.S. Chamber, and she will be your lunch speaker. Karen is the Executive Vice President and Managing Director of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Institute for 21st Century Energy. It's a new institute dedicated to developing a comprehensive energy policy for the United States. She is the former Assistant Secretary for Policy and International Affairs at the U.S. Department of Energy. Her office was the primary policy advisor to the Secretary and the Department on domestic and international energy issues, new policy initiatives, climate change programs, and regulatory concerns. Karen designed and implemented energy policy initiatives and oversaw budget reviews for fossil, nuclear, and renewable energy and energy efficiency programs. She advised the White House's National Economic Council, the National Security Council, and cabinet officers on all matters relating to energy policy and regulatory and legislative matters. Karen was responsible for overseeing the implementation of the President's energy policy initiatives, including the Advanced Energy Initiative. She's testified numerous times in the U.S. Congress on energy policy. She was also a member of the Department of Energy's Executive Board, which approves the annual budget request, as well as the Credit Review Board, which analyzes applications for DOE's new $13 billion loan guarantee facility for advanced clean energy technology projects. Previously, Karen was the Deputy Assistant Administrator for Latin American and the Caribbean at the U.S. Agency for International Development, with primary responsibility for foreign assistance programs in South America and the Caribbean. Karen had oversight of programs in 11 countries totaling over $800 million and 1,000 employees. In the private sector, she's worked for a developer of international infrastructure and power projects valued at over $9 billion in countries located in the Middle East, Asia, and Latin America. She received a degree in international policy studies and political science from Rice University in Houston. She is active in numerous international policy forums and resides in Washington, D.C. with her husband and 2 children. How about a warm Missouri welcome for Karen Harbert?
Good afternoon. Please go ahead and feel free to eat your dessert. I go well with the clanking of forks and spoons. Don, thank you. Thank you for keeping energy as part of the Chamber's mission. I think that's really important here. And behind every good idea is somebody who does all the work. So Sandy, thank you for all your hard work and effort, and the rest of the staff here. It's a real honor and privilege to be here today. And with that kind of an introduction, first let me start off with it's not my fault. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about why it's not my fault. I hope to accomplish a couple things at today's discussion, and I do hope that we do get time for discussion if I can speak quickly. I want to change the way you think about energy a little bit. You all have had a lot of talk about this morning, but I want you to start thinking about energy a little bit differently. I'm going to burden you with some facts, some of which you already know, but the way I present them maybe will help you think about energy a little bit differently. I want to convince you that I'm an optimist, and you all should be optimists in this debate, but we got to get our act together and we got to get it soon, and that we do have a path forward. And lastly, I would be not doing my job if I didn't make an advertisement for the new Energy Institute, which I will do at the end, rather than burden you with that in the beginning. I want to talk to you about energy security, not energy, energy security. Energy security is the biggest, in our view, challenge of the 21st century. It is now inextricably intertwined with our economic security, obvious to anybody who goes to the gas station or pays their electric bill, but it is increasingly one of the most important aspects of our national security. And we have to look at things differently. We have to look with a much broader and deeper focus on how we deal with this. As we transition into the 21st century, many things are different. We used to live in a very singular world where we understood the Cold War. Now we have many different challenges that are crowding our plate. And energy is going to be one of the most complex issues that we have to deal with going forward. It's going to force us to make some very hard decisions, some very different relationships, and ultimately we're going to have to choose what type of legacy we're going to leave our grandchildren. It will impact our economy, it will impact our national security, and it will impact the type of people that we generate for years to come and what they are forced or make the option to do. Let's talk about the new energy reality first. What type of a world are we living in? Well, we're living in a world where demand is going to increase by 50% between now and 2030. 70% of that demand is going to be in the developing world. 30% of that demand is going to be in China alone. Electricity demand over that same time frame is going to go up 100% around the world. So electricity demand is going to double over the next 25 years. But at the same time, we have 1.6 billion people that don't have access to electricity. And we have for a long time as Americans had a core value of trying to bring people out of poverty and despair. And we've been fairly successful. We were just talking about that at lunch. One of the reasons we are where we are is our development agenda has worked. And people now have access to jobs. There is a middle class. They're eating beef. They're driving cars. It's a problem. We still have 1.6 people that we're trying to close that poverty gap. If we're successful, if the world's successful, the energy demand will be even greater than what we think it is today. So as we know the demand today, how much money is it going to cost to actually supply the new energy that we need? $20 trillion over the next 25 years. $20 trillion with what we know today. The biggest question is that investment going to occur to unlock those new supplies, hydrocarbons, coal, nuclear, energy, wind, solar, alternative fuels? Is that investment going to be allowed to occur here and around the world? And that's a huge challenge. At the same time, we also know we have a growing issue to deal with because 70% of greenhouse gas emissions are resulting from energy. And we have to be able to find a way to reduce the environmental impact of our growing energy consumption here and around the world. So what is happening around the world? Let's talk about the supply side first. Access to the new hydrocarbons that we know are out there is very limited. The easy oil, the easy gas has been gotten in many places. So they're in geologically difficult places. They're in geopolitically difficult places. They're in places that are very hard to get to. They're increasingly closed to foreign investment or even hostile to foreign investment. National oil companies own today 80% of the world's reserves. So our traditional, the names that we look at on the gas stations every day, Exxon, Chevron, Shell, BP, they're fighting for 20% of the market. They're competing against guys that are very, very different players than the people that you and I grew up with. And certainly we're going to be seeing different types of relationships being forced to occur because of the imbalance of access to those reserves. In this high price environment, you would think that people would be falling all over themselves to invest in exploration, to bring more of those hydrocarbons to market to capitalize on the high price environment. Well, we're not seeing that. Despite the fact that there's harder to get to these reserves, what we're seeing is in a traditional oil company, there's a certain percentage of an oil company that they dedicate to exploration and production. It used to be 30% for exploration, 70% for production. Now we're seeing 11% for exploration and the remainder for production. Now sure, in a high price environment, you want to capitalize on things and there's efficient technology, so you have to spend less, to get more. But we're still seeing reduced investment in exploration. That means we're going to have further constrained supply to feed our growing energy appetite. At the same time, and we also were talking about this at our table, the cost for energy, the capital costs for energy projects have gone up. I was in Florida the other day talking to the CEO of a very large utility, and they had begun contemplating a significant nuclear expansion. When he began the contemplation of this project 3 years ago, the project was going to cost him $3 billion. Today, that expansion will cost him $15. I mean, that is an incredible, and now that is in one particular area, but costs across the board in all sorts of energy are going up. Why is that? Well, I mean, we have all kinds of reasons, but we have copper going up, we have steel going up, we have all of the inputs that are required for these big infrastructure projects escalating. And that's causing people that are profit motivated, like all of you as employers, to take pause. And are they prepared to make the huge capital investments that are necessary to feed this energy demand? We're seeing boards of directors think very hard about some of these very large projects. When we're talking about a company that has a $20 billion market cap, and you're being asked to put $15 billion on the line, I don't know what board of directors is going to say yes to a 75% risk for his company. So we are at a big crossroads here on how we're going to be dealing with this.